Sorry about that. And I apologize again for missing y'all.
No worries at all. Uh, Let me do a quick intro if we're ready to rock. Are we good?
Yes, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So Janie, please meet Patrick. Patrick is a finance advisor on a different team since the FA for our team is still in the onboarding process. And I know you had some questions around your COA and stuff, so I wanted to get the best that we had to be able to join the call and be able to, answer questions or, guide in whichever way, shape, or form. The documents you sent to me yesterday, I did share with Patrick. I don't know if he's had an opportunity to look at them or not, but he's got
I
them.
took a,
It gives you
yeah, I do have them. I took a quick glance. Unfortunately, I didn't do the analysis I would have liked. We're in the thick of annual planning right now. So I apologize, but I'm here to answer any questions I can to help you. And Janie, it's also, I should have said this at the beginning, it's great to meet you.
nice to meet you too. So basically the gist of this is we are implementing a new ERP. We're using the Tremble Vista Viewpoint. I have to have it effective as of January 1. For that, right, I want to make sure that it is set up properly for us to scale. We only have the one office now, and less than 2 years, I expect us to have an office in Austin as well. We only have 2 real revenue lines right now. To date, we've only been putting that in one general ledger revenue account, and then we have various cost codes, which are kind of the splits for that revenue that's tracked in the job costing. One of the things that's come out of platform and also our financials workshop that we attended and such is needing to be able to make sure that we are seeing exactly how profitable each of our service lines are. Right now, we can get to that information, but our current ERP sucks as far as reporting capabilities, which again is part of why we're moving to the new system. So the key questions come down to, I know I'm going to be having to set up a new chart of accounts. I know that, we haven't had departmental financials yet. That's something that we need. So that's as part of this. We're going to need the location. We're going to need the departments. And then I'm also looking at this like, well, how do we need to get this set up? Because the current cost codes have just been kind of all-inclusive, one group that went to revenue, contract revenue. Now we're actually splitting it out, and I have new cost codes that will be specific to the dirt or earth work that we do, and then to the utilities work that we do. I expect in maybe 16 months, we're going to be adding a concrete division. So that would be its own and would have to have its own codes for that, for us to be able to figure out not just which, utilities, earthwork, concrete is profitable, but what aspects of that are profitable for utilities. Are we losing money on the fire line? Are we making money on storm? Those kinds of things are things that obviously we need to be able to report on.
Yeah.
My concern with the chart of accounts, also financials workshop, right? And platform, simplify the chart of accounts, focus on the things that you really need to be focusing. With the general ledger, I mean, I can set up accounts so that they roll up into other accounts and things of that nature. When you start looking at 38 or 40 lines of different revenue lines or our cost codes, that makes our chart of accounts a little bit big.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. It's very easy to get lost in it, especially when you're scaling up. It's one of the last things you think about because you do have access to the financials, but you're grabbing them from the general ledger, you're grabbing them from other routes. But when it comes time to organize and for a quick summary, this is a common opportunity a lot of people come into, especially when they're growing quickly. So as you had mentioned, yeah, you do want line of revenue it depends on how you want to read it, essentially, but the cleanest way is to have it each offering, have a line of revenue and have a chart of account for that. And as you had mentioned, go into COGS and have each line of COGS, each cost of goods sold, to be linked to one of those lines of revenue. Now, and those can be broken out. You can have several lines under that main category for COGS. So you can have several lines. Let's say you have revenue line A, and then you have COGS line A, but under COGS line A, you can have COGS line A.1, where it's something else, and you can have all that detail. In fact, that's probably encouraged. You know what I mean? It's, you want access to the data.
Coming down to now, my Tremble implementation people are saying, but you can pull just about all of that information out of the job cost module. So why do we want to burden the chart of accounts with having, 30 or 40 labor codes for COGS labor? And why do we want it to have, the same for, materials and each one of the subcontracts and things of that nature? And they're telling me that they think that the coding on it would end up being a nightmare. I mean, obviously, the accounting department, we'd have cheat sheets, and I could create those for project management and estimating and whoever. But the more of those that we have, the greater the chance that a project manager creating a purchase order is going to code it to the wrong account, and that it's going to end. So I'm looking at this. It's a tightrope that we walk, right? Between making sure that we have the reporting functionality that's going to be able to help us drive the business versus having it so complex that people are lost, that they have no idea, that they're guessing. And so that's where I'm stuck trying to figure out, okay, if I can get most of this information from the job cost where we're coding it, like I had sent y'all the RL Siteworx COA draft, or it's the code format draft. And in that, it would show a general ledger account that would go, the main account, the division, which we could make that the location, and then have a third part of that would be specific to the revenue line. So for example, utility revenue or dirt work revenue or whatever. And then if you go to the job project contract, there we could actually get it more detailed, where it would be more of having okay, this is earthwork, this is the mobilization for earthwork, this is the pavement stabilization, this is the detention pond, whatever those things are. So that's where I don't want to screw this up, because it's a big deal.
Oh, certainly. And just to take some of the pressure off, this could also be changed. Yeah, it's annoying, it's a little time consuming, but it can always be changed as well. So don't think of this as set in stone. I just to take a quick breather for it. I would not.
Yeah, I'm an analyzer. I overthink. I'm
a driver analyzer, so I get it. I'm trying to drive, and I'm sitting back and analyzing some ways of complex. It's just phenomenal. So I get it. So you had mentioned opening different locations, and it's important to plan for that as well. So what you don't want is a large P&L. You don't want a large financial data set that is unhelpful at the end of the day. So I would organize it into general categories. That's something that has proven to be great. And then internally, you can have several, that again, line of revenue A. And that line of revenue A will, for the entire company, will encompass that from both locations. And then the cost of goods sold, you can have that cost line A, then A.1, A.2, and have it kind of go down, and have it. You could have it match with the top line revenue. But even if not, it's if you want to track that, you can, but it's also hideable. You know what I mean? It's not like it's going to be confusing, because not everyone's going to be looking at all that detail. But it is important to track every single bit of it and organize every bit of it. And when you have a company like yours, there is a lot to track. There really is. When it comes to summarizing things, don't be afraid to categorize into general topics, like again, that line revenue A, cost A, etc. And that might be, I'm looking at this now, looking at an email you had sent I think yesterday. Joe forwarded that over to me. I see miscellaneous dirt, I see warranty for dirt, rain dirt. So that could just be a line item of dirt, but you could also have the things below it as well. You know what I mean? It's whatever you think will give you an accurate idea of the business. And it really is personal. It really is personalized for your company, for you and your team. Because what might be best for me, you might think, well, I'd rather track this. This is what we look at. And so you have to really customize it to yourself.
So if we do if you, in the body of the email that I sent you, where I said, this is
Yeah.
the method, right? Where we would have, whatever the primary GL number is, then location, then department, then revenue category, and then that fifth layer that is the cost code category for these are all the dirt revenue segments. And having all of that, where all of that would then roll up into dirt, where all of the utility segments would roll up into utilities and things of that nature. That's the only way I know of where we can get that drill down capability in order to see, right? And
Yeah.
I do think that it'll be a little overwhelming for our owner, not for Derek. Derek, I think, would love it, but I think that it would be overwhelming for him. But if I only show him the summary information and then only if he asks the questions.
Exactly. So one of the biggest points here is the owner should never be looking at huge Excel sheets. They should never be looking at the fine details. And it's so easy to get caught up in it because you're always in the business. The owner needs to step out of the business and look at comprehensive summaries. So looking at a summary of having all those other accounts under a main one, have that summed up. And let's say that he'll want to see one certain metric or how some costs are compared from one location to another. You can pull that and have a metric or a table or some sort of visual display. So that's why this is also it's important to have all of these costs really nailed down and organized. But at the end of the day, the only people looking at them are people who are heavily internal, who are looking into the details, who need to see these details.
That it would be too hefty a chart of accounts, too detailed a chart of accounts. That's what I'm concerned with mainly. I admit it because the Tremble people have been saying, oh, this could be a monster and your people are going to have difficulty trying to remember which code and everything else. I don't know how real that is. I'm thinking maybe part of the reason that they're recommending that is because we have a very short window to get this up and functional. But I haven't done it. I mean, I've done implementations of new ERPs. I mean, when they hired me, they were like, hey, by the way, in less than 3 weeks, we're going live with Foundation. And I was like, with what? But I figured it out and I made it work. But I just want to make sure that I'm not being unreasonable, I guess, in the expectations for the data. I know that it can handle, that the Tremble system can handle up to 20 characters for the different categories. So I would think, and granted, we're a smaller company, right? We aren't yet 50 million, but if we were 100 million, I would think that we would be tracking all this data.
So yes, you would be. And the way I want to put it is this: you're always going to be able to track it. It's just by doing it this way, you're making your job a lot easier for when that time comes. Now, there's something to be said about not having, like, if I'm looking at a P&L and I see 100 line items underneath operating expenses, well, that's not good. You want to summarize it enough to where, okay, I know this labor is associated with this cost, or let's say under labor expense, you have both divisions. You know what I mean? And I would leave it more so at that.
There will have to be, right?
Yeah.
You have labor, you have by department, then you have by revenue.
So especially for the P&L, but just in general, you should not be tracking it that much in depth for a summary of the P&L or just an income statement. However, you can be tracking it outside of that on your own database, on your own system, which is advised. You know what I mean? So but also don't get lost in the details, because what if one day and next year, like, well, I wonder what this division of this location, specifically this role, what their expenses are during this time period. And then you're going to go back and say, okay, well, we've been tracking that and we have the system for that. So it's important to track it, but I would not include it in the formal P&Ls to that degree. That being said, you can keep information on the side.
Well, like with what they're telling me with these cost codes is all of that would be tracked in the job costing in the job module.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're
Absolutely 100%, because we have to track it, right? Because it's the project management module, and where are we on the schedule? And so all of that from the cost code category section, all of that will be tracked there, which is why that's the reason they're telling me don't include it in the P&L by that, since you can grab that data from over here anyway. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, so then maybe you shouldn't be you shouldn't be having a separate chart of account for all of those individual costs, but have it summarized in one general cost. But that general cost can be a little bit more detailed. For example, I'm looking right now to see if I can come up with something specific to your business. Let's say I'm gonna use dirt. Again, you can have that general line item of dirt. You know what I mean? And on a separate, in your general ledger, using that, you can have a separate database tracking what each one does. But also with dirt, you'll have it by location too if you want. It's really what is comprehensive to you. And by changing your chart of accounts, yeah, it's a pain down the road, but it's not, over time, it's going to be refined anyways. Changes will have to happen. And I don't want you to feel like it's like now or never, or it needs to be this way, and we can never change it until next December. Just so you know. Do what?
I said I like to start as we mean to go on, which is why I'm trying to think through like the additional locations of that nature at this point, to make it so that there won't be huge, we have to add new sections, right? New segments.
Yeah.
But I do recognize the fact that, I mean, let's be honest, chart of accounts is always going to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
Because the company evolves, and you have to make it flexible enough to be able to do that. I get that.
Yeah. So it's just important to note that it's not, and it's not even a question of it being perfect. It's a question of it being perfect for you and your team. That's all that matters. If I would avoid by getting into the very fine details in the chart of accounts like this. Like when I mean like very, very fine, you don't want to have it dated up in front of you, because the whole reason for this information, for even creating this, is for organization and to summarize. So you're not looking at line after line after line. So I would keep that in mind. Now, as far as, because I don't have your original P&L in front of me, I'm just looking at the email right now. It's hard for me to advise on how to actually do it. But definitely you want to go into detail. You don't want to just have a line item that says revenue, right? But you want to show what each category of revenue, like what each operation is bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's a good example is let's say you're a professional education company. Let's say you offer coaching and you have 3 programs, one that does something, each one is different.
Mm-hmm.
I would not do each program by certain metrics of each one. I would do it by that kind of program. You know what I mean? And then in your general ledger, you can have it a different database where you're tracking the metrics you want to track on the side. I would have it like that. So there's no need to go into the very fine details, but you can still be detailed with it. It's important to be, but not to an extent to where it's hundreds and hundreds of lines long.
Well,
Does that make sense?
That's, and that's, I mean, let's be honest, that's my fear, right? Because We get that granular? Absolutely. Is that best practice? I don't think so, but maybe it is, right? Which is.
And I'm not saying it,
Can
but
get
my
data
the original,
somewhere.
yeah, I mean, the original point here is it's important to track everything. It is
Right.
important to be detailed oriented.
Agreed.
However, on the P&L, on your financials, you don't want to have all that information in there. The whole reason for the P&L is to summarize and to categorize. But that being said, on a different system, or you can use Excel, you can, if you have a good database you like to use, a good software platform you like to use, you could absolutely track each one of them in there and have a feed into that. So you can actually, you can run your own metrics. You can go crazy with the data on the side, and that will help you actually summarize and create visuals and provide the data necessary that your team needs and that the ownership needs.
Well, we can actually do a data dump out of Tremble, but even better than that, I mean, Tremble is Crystal Reports
Yeah.
thing. So we can make it do whatever we want. And it's integrated, it's fully integrated, unlike Foundation, where you can gather all of that information from all of the different modules in one place. So I mean, I could always do that as well, which
Yeah.
let's be honest, I probably am gonna have to anyway. It's been a while. My crystal skills are a little rusty, but I know that that's gonna be something that happens.
Yeah. That's okay. And again, as companies grow, as you said, they evolve.
Mhm.
Systems have to evolve. The process has to evolve. So, and as you do, you might get a better software system. And with one you have now, and we have holidays coming up, use that time to play with it again. But it's what you don't want to happen is an extremely long and complicated P&L that, yeah, it makes sense, but you don't need to know the difference between. I'm trying to look at the cost code right now. Just point out something like miscellaneous dirt, mob, demob dirt, etc. You probably, or rain dirt, safety dirt. That might not be what should be sorted out. However, I mean, you know your business better than I do.
Those are the ones that Kaylin and Derek came in and said, these are the cost codes that we want.
Okay, then those are the ones to have. But you know your business better than I do. I'm just trying to point out something from that one snippet I'm seeing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So definitely summarize, but make sure you know what's going into the summaries. That's all.
Okay.
And for your chart of accounts, have those summaries. And again, you could always summarize it, and so you can have you could have hundreds of lines long, but make sure they're hidden lines then. You know what I mean? You
Agreed.
could have it summarized in lines. So
Roll up and so that we aren't looking at, I mean, ideally, if I can make it happen, I'd really like the P&L to be one page, right? One printed page. It might end up being two, but not 17 like we currently have, right?
yeah, so if you can summarize those lines, then there's no problem putting all the charts of accounts. Like having all that information. There's no, as long as you can summarize it into distinct categories that are helpful.
Okay.
Right. I mean, a good example is, I mean, for one, if you can get onto one page, that'd be crazy. Most of my clients are on 2 pages just because there's a lot of reporting going on, and there's some cleanup going on there as well. But I would not be afraid to get very detailed with it, but just make sure that it's summarized into the appropriate categories. Again, you have like line of revenue A, then you have cost of goods sold A. Let's say it's 8.1, and then underneath 8.1, you got 8.1.2, and you can go as detailed as you want. All I'm saying is make sure that it's summarized appropriately and that they're hidden on the PMS, the formal PMS.
Okay. That helps me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I feel like I maybe I've explained it a bit too longly there. Without looking at your P&L and knowing your business, I'm trying to figure out how to give you a real world example here. But it really is it's personal to your business. You know what I mean? It really depends on what you need to show.
Well, and priorities change, right?
Yeah.
What they want to see today might not be what they want to see in 3 months. And
Exactly.
okay.
That's why it's important to have another data system that you can play around with it and show metrics and suggest new ideas to, or maybe we should be tracking this instead, or maybe we should actually have this category instead of this category. It's a living, breathing company, and if you don't change, you die. That's the saying. So it's as you grow, you're going to change, and it's going to lead to bigger and better things. So don't be afraid of that change. Don't be afraid of next August coming back and saying, well, now I have to redo everything. Look at it as, okay, well, great. We're moving up. We have things to correct.
Do it in August than, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand.
But
yeah.
So as long as the details are hidden so that I can provide a snapshot on the P&L.
Exactly.
Provide
exactly.
And it can be visual. Kalen's a very visual person, so he likes to see the graphs instead of the actual financials, and being able to show him, okay, this is the percent of revenue, this is where they came from, here's your little pie chart, and here's the trends. And
what do you use QuickBooks by chance?
No, we use Foundation as our current ERP.
Okay, gotcha. As long as you can summarize it on Foundation and make sure it's have a customized report that shows the main things.
Yeah,
you can have
when we're leaving.
Gotcha.
We're Foundation. I mean, I'll still have it for access to historical, whatever I need to pull, but the new system will be the Tremble system. That's the Vista Viewpoint. And
gotcha.
that should be a sufficient program for us to get to that 400 million.
Got it. Yeah, just as long as you can create those customer reports to show to management. But in the back end, you could have a million accounts on there. Just as long as it makes sense to you and your team, and that the information that you're providing to the ownership, to leadership, to to even people down below that need to see how their department's doing, that it's concise and that it's important to them. That's all that matters.
That helps me a great deal. I really appreciate y'all taking the time.
Of course.
I know that this
of course.
unexpected, and again, Joe, my apologies for missing the other one.
No, that's okay. I know things are crazy. It's right for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. It's got to be insane for you. So I get it. I do. And just remember, if it doesn't have to be, it's perfection is really personal to you and your team in this case. So there's no right answer here. It's just whatever you believe that is right for your business. That's what matters.
Well, and a lot of it goes back to the feedback loop, right? What kind of information are we going to need to be able to spit out for estimating to be improving their processes, and so that, because again, it's a continual loop. So
yeah, I mean, I'd rather there be a lot of information than little information. Let's put it that way. Because you can hide, you know what I mean? Or even if let's say you can't hide it all, the more details, the better, because that's the things you could do with that data is very impressive. You can track anything with all the data from the general ledger. So having it summarized and having it, those categories will be really, really helpful. But those might change, and they want a different kind of category, and that's fine, just as long as it makes sense. So,
well, we can always go in and, if we don't do this particular category anymore, say that, I don't know, we stop doing detention systems and we start doing something slightly the same but different. I can always go back in and reclass stuff if I need to for the historical stuff. I've had to do that a number of times in our current system. So yeah. Thank you.
Of course, it's fine. If you have any questions, please let us know. We're here for you. Anything we can do to help you. I know, especially now, it's crazy with the holidays. So,
well, I'm grateful, guys. And Joe, thank you so much for arranging this. And
of course.
I know.
And we are pushing your FA, Adam, to get done with his onboarding as soon as possible. He's got to get kind of like the green light, so to speak, from our direct supervisor, the portfolio director, before he's allowed to be client facing. But I think that's going to happen very much sooner rather than later. So you'll have a consistent person that will have weekly calls with you so that we can help you in any way, shape, or form.
Great, but even if that doesn't happen until January, because I
Oh,
don't.
it'll be way before January. Like
Yeah,
I'm like
I'm saying-
next couple weeks,
Well, I'm like-
probably.
I have one person I've hired. I have to hire 2 additional positions to start before the end of the year. So between everything else, yeah, my plate's a little bit full. So
Yeah.
if it ends up
And
being,
we'll work around your schedule and what your needs are. I just want to let you know, like the support is coming,
I appreciate it.
of course.
I really am grateful. Thank you.
Of course. And thank you, Patrick, for jumping over to help out a fellow team. I appreciate that as well.
Of course. I hope I was helpful.
You were. And now I just need to go and have a quick talk with Derek. And then after that, then I'll be able to say, okay, this is what we're going with.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. If I don't talk to you, happy Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah.
Oh, same to
Thanks,
you.
Jane.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jannie. Great meeting. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.